All right, on to the next one for homework 15. Again, we're given a mean, we're given a standard deviation, and we want to know what percentage of students taking the quantitative exam scored above a 611. So notice the distinction. The last problem we did below, and now we're doing above. All right. So let's write down our given information. We have an average of 579. We have a standard deviation of 160. And we are after the percentile, or we're after what percentage of students scored above a 611. So the data value that's given is the 611. So we need to use the same equation that we were using last time, where the data value is the average plus z times sigma. And in fact, so you'll notice we shoved in the data value, the average, sigma, and then isolated z. We do that so many times that it might be convenient to write the formula out as follows. So your z score is equal to your data value. Subtract off the average and divide that whole thing by sigma. Again, if you want to push this into your calculator in one step, be sure to have parentheses in your numerator. So let's fill out this equation. So data value, that's 611, minus the average, which is 579. Divide the result by sigma, which is your standard deviation. So 611 minus 579, divide the result by 160 to get 0.2. Which makes sense. This z-score is saying your 0.2 standard deviations, it's positive, so we know it's to the right. And that would be, we're 0.2 standard deviations to the right of the average, which makes sense. I mean, the average is 579, the data value is 611, which is not too much bigger. So it makes sense that this z value would just be a little bit off of the average. So we need to utilize the z-score of 0.2. So here's our table. Z-score of 0.2 gives us a percentile of 57.93. 57.93. So that's saying, here's our normal distribution. Here's our average. We are 0.2 standard deviations to the right of the average. This is 579. That's the average. The data value we're looking at is 611. So realize this 57.93, well, that's this portion of your curve. So this would be 57.93% of your curve would be to the left. And this much of your curve would be to the right, which is 100% minus the 57.93. 100 minus 57.93, 42.07. So why bring that up? Well, recognize this percentile that's listed on the chart is always the percent of your bell curve that sits to the left, forever and always. But recognize what we're asked. We are asked what percentage of students taking the quantitative exam scored above a 611. Well, to be above the 611 means you have to fall within this portion of your curve. This portion of your curve is just over 42% of your curve. So that would say 42% of students did better than a 611, but 57.9% of students did worse than a 611. So, to answer the question, what percentage of students taking the quantitative exam scored above a 611? Round to the nearest whole number as needed. That's going to be 42. All right, and this concludes our work on the normal distribution. Whenever you're working on this, do be aware this is all coming from two equations, which are essentially the same equation rearranged. That equation is the equation that relates your data value to the average and standard deviation by utilization of this z-score. It comes in two different presentations, one where z has been isolated, the other where the data value has been isolated. Whichever one you need is dependent upon the information you're given and what you're searching for. All right, so good luck in working through the normal distribution. I will see you on the next one.